one of my favorites personally. The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight. I can't wait for the new movie. I promise you, I can't. I'm waiting. They leaking it. They say it's only going to be in theaters. I see that. They say everybody going to have to go to the movies looking like Batman with the mask on to get up in there and watch it. But what is his experience? What was his experience? He lost both parents at an early age violently in his presence. That doesn't just set someone up for success. I mean, that's not the best case scenario for success, is it? What have you lost? Who? Who have you lost? Who did you lose early? What did you think you had? What did you take for granted? What was you sure would never leave? Think parents, think older brothers, older siblings, think spouses. Think children in some cases. What did you lose? What was the experience? What have you been through? He was bullied as well. He was a loner. He was socially awkward. How many people have been socially awkward, quite unsure of themselves, not really comfortable in their skin, not really knowing who they were because they had lost everything? So think about starting over. Have you ever had to start over? Where your entire world changed and your security blanket was ripped off of you at a time when you were vulnerable, or at a time that made you vulnerable. Based on what he went through, he was terrified of the dark. How many people have been terrified of challenges, terrified of new situations, terrified of strange people? Just terrified, living in fear. It's a real situation. Agoraphobia is the fear of outside. How many people have to put on a costume before they leave their homes? Every day. You bring your representative to your job, you bring your representative to your relationship, you bring your representatives to even your parenthood state sometimes. Best friends or so-called best friends don't even know who you are. How are you supposed to be able to start a business, run a business, own a business, be successful? Just some thoughts, just some experiences. He was also an orphan after losing both of his parents, right? He was raised by not even an uncle. He was raised by a butler. He was an introvert. He was an introvert. He wasn't an extrovert. As a matter of fact, he did what a lot of people do. He hid himself behind the picture or the character of Bruce Wayne, tycoon playboy. But that wasn't really him, was it? No. He was socially challenged. So he created an avatar. You know, people who bring their avatar to the party, you don't really know who they are until you really, really get to know them. You know how they say you don't really know somebody until 5 years? Think, how many times do you recreate yourself? Some people say, I'm a this, and then I'm a that, and then they flip it and say, I'm a this, and then they find themselves and they have a reawakening experience, and then they change it all together and be like, I'm something with somebody else. I thought I was this. I thought that's what I wanted to do. So if you've recreated yourself, if you're not really sure, if you're an introvert, if you're challenged socially, if you've lost both parents, do not be put off. Do not be discouraged, because his superpower was that he was a critical thinker. Since he went into himself, think about Batman. Batman is the only superhero with no technically defined as superpowers. He doesn't have super strength. He doesn't have super hearing. He can't fly. What is it about him? How does he exist in the same space? He's a critical thinker. Everybody went outside of themselves. They have powers that came from outside of themselves. His power comes from within. His power comes from within himself. And he was challenged. Life had beaten him. Life was stolen from him. Maybe that's why he's my favorite. I don't know. But one of his superpowers is resilience. He's able to come back from adversity, bounce back from adversity with internal strength and internal fortitude. Superman needs to see the sun. Batman doesn't need to see the sun. He just needs to go down deep, go down into the dark, go down into the depths of his soul, and he will crush anything. But first he has to beat the demons within himself, beat the fears within himself. So that's what a lot of people listening to this call need to do. Go down into their past, go down into their trauma, go down into their defeats and their challenges. And they need to beat themselves before they can beat the world. They need to succeed at just being themselves before they can succeed at being anything else. What demons are you fighting? What are you terrified of? He's strategic. Strategic. He thinks business-minded. He has a business mind for success. He thinks strategically. He plays chess and not checkers. Nothing against checkers players, but if you know me, if you know the brand, you know you've seen a chessboard here or there. I love chess, and I love strategy, and I love business. And even more than that, I'm enamored with branding. So the same thing that terrified him in the beginning, he became the owner and the champion of. He became the ownership of the same thing that terrified him. Think about that. What do you have to overcome? What do you have to beat back? What do you have to take back? If you could turn a weakness into a superpower, if you could take something that is a deficiency and strengthen that, could that possibly be the platform from which you take off? And your career takes off, and your business takes off, and your marriage takes off, and your relationship with your children takes off? Are there some things you have to deal with? Ownership of the dark. Ownership. Championship. Think of the brand. Think of the brand.